The Hatboro-Horsham School District is always looking for ways to improve student achievement. This year, the high school launched its Response to Instruction Intervention, or RTII program. RTII helps students at all academic levels achieve success, and now has been implemented in Hatboro-Horsham High School.
There's an expectation that every building in the district is implementing it in some way, form, or fashion at the high school level. In fact, we're the last ones on board. You know, it's been happening in some of our elementary schools. Keith Valley moved to a tiered intervention system last year. But we're very, very pleased with how we've been able to implement and the things that have been accomplished and the progress that our students have made in this first year.
The structure of RTII looks the same in all of the schools. 85% of students fall into the Tier 1 category, while the remaining 15% fall into Tier 2 and Tier 3 categories.
The expectation is that 80 to 85% of your students are experiencing success through just regular traditional classroom methods. But then there's another tier of students, Tier 2 and Tier 3, where there's 5 to 10, sometimes 15% of those students who aren't experiencing success at Tier 1. So then the question becomes, okay, what are you going to do to make sure, ensure that those students experience success? A lot of times those students need one-on-one or small group instruction that, depending on the course that they're in, just can't happen in that class. So the idea behind the intervention, the tiered intervention structure, is to take those students, provide another opportunity, some supplemental instruction, some additional instruction.
So that is what the administration at the high school did. In the early stages of the implementation process, administrators picked specialists to help Tier 2 and Tier 3 students in 3 subject areas.
What we attempted to do this year was to really focus on our keystone areas. So with that in mind, there's 3 key areas we focus on our students in: math, Algebra 1, and science, which is biology, and then in English literature, which is offered in 10th grade. So that began our focus in terms of identifying students who weren't performing in those particular areas. As you know, the Keystone Exam is a graduation requirement for students in the class of 2017 and beyond.
If we're thinking about solving one-step equations,
Students who end up with a math, science, or English specialist must first be identified before the intervention takes place.
I receive a referral from that teacher, and I basically take a look at the student as far as their course grades, as well as I take a look in Performance Tracker at PVAS scores, PSSA scores from the past. I have conversations with teachers about what the student could possibly be struggling with. And I kind of make a decision whether a student should be entered into Tier 2 and see a specialist.
so if I clean up this side, what's going to happen to that?
I am considered an RTII specialist, which means that as students are identified that they have a weakness in a specific area, they are sent to work with me during the HATS period. We do kind of an evaluation, a baseline when they first come to us. We work with them, and then we do a benchmark when we're done to make sure that they've understood that those concepts or gained that knowledge, and then the idea is that they're going to return to their normal classroom and be able to be successful at this point.
We don't sit here and tutor, but if the assignment overlaps with the skills they're working on, for example, I have a student who is in need of basic writing skills, sentence structure, paragraph structure, things like that. So I am able to work with him on his assignments, and I focus exclusively on those skills that he's working on. But yeah, I go out of my way to talk to the teacher to make sure I know exactly what the teacher wants, because the last thing I want to do is teach him something that might work in my classroom, and then he takes it to his teacher, and that's not what they're looking for.
The high school has now expanded academic programs beyond interventions by offering alternative educational opportunities for students.
We do specific things for study skills, organization, test taking, and anxiety. So there's an option that we could put students in the LRC for a designated period of time to help them with some of the non-academic skills that are problematic for them.
We also have an opportunity to see behaviorally how students are doing through the course of the year, and if interventions need to be done there, utilizing some of our counseling service and our SAP program.
Even though there's a strong focus on Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention, but that we also need to provide some opportunities for enrichment for some of our students, which is where we've come up with, not we, but our teachers have actually assisted us in designing what we call a Hatter's Discovery Hour. and it takes place 2 to 3 times a month on a Friday. And basically, it's a 60-minute window where our teachers are offering things that are of interest to our students. We have teachers offering everything from juggling to stress management, test anxiety. We just brought an award-winning cartoonist in. While Tier 1 is for everybody, oftentimes when you focus on students that are struggling, you kind of take some of the focus off of kids who are excelling. It's been very beneficial for us to have that opportunity. So it's been good.
The challenge of any new initiative is figuring out the logistics. For high school students and staff, that meant changing a schedule that had been in place for many years.
This year, with the help of our school board and the approval of our school board, we actually redesigned our schedule so that there is a 90-minute block in the middle of the day from 10:30 to 12 o'clock where for 30 minutes students have lunch, but then for 60 minutes there is some sort of structure in place that's academic focused and academically driven.
The beauty of the RTII structure in the middle of our day, that 90-minute block, gives all students the opportunity to reach out to their teachers to get support for any kind of extra help that they might need.
After changing the schedule to accommodate interventions, administrators had to figure out how to coordinate Tier 2 and Tier 3 referrals between teachers and specialists.
I think the biggest challenge is logistical. There's a really good chance that students need help in more than one subject, and asking them to meet with me, 2 or 3 days a week, that can be anywhere from an hour to 90 minutes of their time during HATS, where they could be getting help from a math teacher or a science teacher or another class that they need help with.
One of the hardest things I think for us was being able to identify students that were supposed to be part of this Tier 2. We have been fine-tuning it over the course of this year. I know I've had some conversations as to maybe how we can use the standardized testing and those types of data to help to maybe identify students that maybe weren't identified that should have been identified.
When we started off the school year, this was kind of very, very new. We weren't really sure what we were going to need to track the data, what background information we were going to need about students. So it kind of was, we were developing as we were moving along. So we also are looking at our D's and F's list, which comes out every week. And after looking at that for the first couple of weeks of the school year, we realized that we needed something more, which is how we came across using Performance Tracker. And in Performance Tracker, we were able to create a nice spreadsheet of each student in 9th and 10th grade, because that is our target for now.
We automatically get every Monday an opportunity to see who's struggling in specific classes on a large basis. We also receive a report that's generated through our central data of students that are struggling in attendance, behaviorally, and also through their grades. We get the top 25 students in each grade that are struggling overall as a student here at Hatboro-Horsham. With that, we take that information to our team and we discuss various ways to intervene.
Intervention is different for every student. A successful intervention could mean better study habits, getting to class on time, and doing the right things to set the stage for better academic results in the future. Tracking the performance for every student is still a work in progress.
This was the first year. We had a couple of bumps along the way, figuring out what is working best for the team and for the students. And I think that we're doing a pretty good job at modifying as we're going along. So I see this definitely carrying over for the next couple of years and improving every year.
The discussion has been, how do we make it better? Is it going to stay exactly the same? Probably not. We do know that our culture has changed greatly just because of the pure schedule change. I see that only improving with people getting more accustomed to the schedule as it is and using the time that's available to them.
Despite some bumps along the way, feedback so far from teachers, students, and even parents have been positive in RTII's initiation into the high school.
One of the benefits for parents and the things that they appreciate about it is it's an intervention that's taking place that doesn't interfere with students with other courses that a student may be taking. Unfortunately for a lot of high schools, especially at the high school level, when a student needs additional help, when they're struggling, when there are deficits. A lot of times that help occurs by pulling them out of a class and working with them in an area where there's a deficiency. Well, in my opinion, that's not beneficial. If I'm pulling a kid out of a class like art or like music that they really truly enjoy and are excelling at, to have them focus on something that they struggle in, that's a conflict.
I was actually pleasantly surprised at how the students responded to the whole initiative. They were kind of relieved that there was someone that could help them. I did receive feedback after we finished working with the student. We touched base with the parents and the counselors kind of to keep the loop complete, and parents did reach out and thank me for the work that I had done with their daughter. And sometimes it's just a confidence boost that they know that there's one more person that's helping them in their corner here at the high school to be successful.
It's not timed. It doesn't have to end by a certain date. We generally recommend 8 to 12 sessions to start, but most of the time it goes over that, and I see that as a positive, not a negative. The students seem to enjoy coming. They never really argue with me about being here. So I feel like they're getting a lot out of it. They feel like they're getting a lot out of it.
RTII will continue to expand its reach to all students next year and beyond. Response to instruction intervention has now reached every grade level in the Hatboro-Horsham School District. All students now receive the benefits of RTII, whether it's to enhance academic performance, grow personally, or expand intellectually. The results of this initiative may be forthcoming, but so far, it's having a positive impact across all Hatboro-Horsham schools.